Hello everybody, and welcome to another instalment of The High Road. My name is Noel C. Blundell, your host, and I'm here with Remington L. Blundell. Hello mate, how are you?
Good morning, how are you doing? I'm good.
I'm very well, thank you. And what's been happening? What's been happening in your world?
Oh, the only thing I can remember from my world was getting up in the middle of the night and then use the bathroom. I'll check my phone, 4:35 a.m. it's silence. 4:36 a.m. the first rooster crow in the morning.
Oh, no.
And that kept me up for a while. But other than that, it's been good. Been really good.
The first rooster crow of the morning at 4:36.
Yep.
Oh no, that's only going to get earlier with summertime coming on, the sun coming up earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you do in those circumstances? Just lay there and thank your lucky stars how lucky you are to hear the rooster crow so early in the morning?
No, I sit there and think to myself, wow, that rooster could make a really good dinner.
Well, that's his job, you know.
Yeah, apparently it has all these effects on like the, I think it's like flowers opening or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently it has like the rooster crow like actually has an impact on nature for certain things. So, you know, something like that. But no, it does get a bit frustrating. I've never been able to sleep with them crowing like they do or chirping, whatever it is, for as long as I could remember. Like we stayed up at, you know, a family farm up in northern Victoria, and then it was like 4:30 in the morning. We were in a tent, and it just went off.
Yep, they do that.
Yeah, so I've never been able to sleep with them. But yeah, it's just, it is what it is. But that's the only thing I can remember. Apart from that, life's fantastic.
Now that's good. That's a really good response. Yes, life is fantastic.
What is there to be upset about anyway?
I tend to agree with you.
There's bad days coming, and so why waste them?
Yeah, well, that's
on
right.
Useless upsets.
That's right. You may as well enjoy what you have already and live in appreciation and mindfulness. That's how I like to approach it anyway. And not only that, the good weather's starting to creep in. So we're getting sunshiny days, and the thermometer is lifting up and over 15 degrees.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to good weather. I kind of miss it after going to Southeast Asia. You kind of got used to it over there. It was really hot, and then come back and it was a bit cold, but you kind of really enjoy the hot weather. And I've never really been a fan of hot weather until about a year or two ago, where I got used to it and all that. I was more of a cold weather fan.
Yes, well, we're Victorians and we come from the south of our country, Australia, and it's cool most of the time. Like 8 months of the year, it's cool. It's not as cold as Europe, but it does get cold. So we tend to, as human beings who live in the south, rug up.
Yeah.
That's why when the summer comes and the heat comes, we haven't conditioned ourselves to disrobe some of this heavy clothing we wear. So we still tend to get out of bed and put on socks and singlets and things along those lines when the heat's coming. So we tend to overheat, which makes us uncomfortable, which produces the programming in our minds that heat is terrible. But as I learnt when I shifted up north, where it was lovely, when you were children, where it was lovely, that I didn't need all these excess clothes. So I started to strip back to basic summertime clothing and adopt that northern good weather mindset, and then I learned to enjoy the heat without all that heavy clothing. So Victorians dislike the heat, and I think that's why we're not used to it, and we still wear a lot of clothes. And if you can get your head around that, vice versa. We've had some people come down from Queensland, like one of our lecturers who shifted to Queensland. He couldn't get used to the cold weather. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
I spoke to him, and I said to him, Gary, his name was. Shout out to Gary. Gary, I got 2 words for you, and he said, "What?" I said, "Thermal underwear." And so he adopted that policy, went straight down to Kathmandu, I think, and bought himself
Aussie Disposals or something.
Yeah, and proudly come back and told us that he'd made a purchase of thermal underwear to get him through the colder months. See again, that policy in reverse. Anyway, today we're going to have a chat about mental health in the workplace. We've had a number of questions sent in over our socials, and asking about questions to deal with mental health, positive mental health outcomes in the workplace. So we're going to read a couple of them to you and try and answer them to give a couple of points that may help in reducing your stress levels and producing better mental health outcomes in the workplace for you. Now, this is a giant area, topic of area, and there is lots and lots and lots of more that can be spoken about. And as we go forward in the podcast, we will be speaking about this issue quite a bit because it's quite close to my heart. Well, health and wellbeing is quite close to my heart anyway. And health and wellbeing in the workplace, I think, should take priority, a priority of all of us. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important.
I think it's very important. Anyway, so let's start off with the first question. The first question was, what strategies can I implement to manage stress effectively during high-pressure situations at work? You got anything on that, mate?
What strategies can I implement to manage stress effectively during a high-pressure situation? I think prioritisation. I think that'd be the first thing that I can really think of. Prioritisation and time management.
There's some simple strategies around how to get your workplace in order to do that. Bit before that, I think a lot of us struggle to recognise that we are under stress. I think we don't really realise it, right? And I think we're not sort of looking for those signs, and we're not sort of looking for those telltale little nuances that stress brings into our life, because it creeps in so slowly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? So
it starts taking a toll on your mental health very slowly over time. Yeah. Like, maybe after a year or two, you wouldn't do something that you'd do a year or two ago, if that makes sense, before work or what you usually do. And you slowly go into a decline. But I think acknowledging that you're stressed and also kind of sharing the responsibility around what your workload is and prioritising your tasks and all that. That's the only sound really thing that comes to mind. What do you think about that?
Yes, I agree with you. I think organising your workplace too and having set routines in place helps a lot too. Using an active paper and or electric diaries help a lot. Setting priorities through the day to be achieved. Bit hard in a chaotic workplace and for want of a better word, but like say when I'm referring to a chaotic workplace where you got a workload and you have a retail component, so you have customers coming in and you can't predict that, so you have to make allowances to be able to deal with the customers' inquiries and serving customer and doing all that, providing good customer service. Right, so that's a variable you can't control. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But if you still have diarised tasks to be completed through the day, you know where you are going to put your time to be as productive as you can, even with those interruptions by clients coming in and out and wanting to talk to you and dealing with their issues as they come in, can be made easier, because once the client's needs are met and they walk away as happy customers, you can go back to your routine and pick up where you've left off. Reduced productivity is a real problem for the workplace, and stress can cause that, along with a number of other key negatives for the workplace. Is increased absenteeism, high employee turnover, and health issues. People are increased absentee, so they're at home a lot. So there is a couple of remedies for that. You can create a good work environment, a supportive work environment, teamwork where people are looking out for each other and helping each other out. Sometimes, again, can be a little bit difficult, particularly in retail situations, or where employees have to go off on their own to deal with specific areas of their expertise. So they can have roles in different areas where they all come together to produce something, but they all have an individual role. So that can be a little bit difficult, but you can create a good, sound teamwork environment for that to happen. And when you are working in a team, you can open up discourses and languages and talks and things along those lines around mental health to create that environment of regular check-ins with people.
So you just kind of like talk to your colleagues and your boss and be like, hey, what do you think about mental health? Or
well, I'd be keeping it even more basic than that. Just maintaining a general workplace relationship with your colleagues is probably a good idea, and informal conversations. I know in a lot of workplaces, depending on what they're dealing with, I know those industries that are pretty dark. Not dark, but they deal with crisis. And when you deal with crisis, you're in a perpetual situation, dealing with people's hardship, and some serious crisis. Emergency wards and things along those lines.
Yeah.
So those guys have a sense of humour, and that sense of humour actually pulls them together in like comrades at arms, if you get what I mean. So there's a camaraderie amongst them. They create their own sense of humour and crack jokes and things along those lines, which gets them over the line, but it also brings the team together so they can function better.
Apparently humour is one of the first signs of intelligence too. Like they can measure humour based on your intelligence. Really? Yeah, I did read about that, and maybe that's what keeps the camaraderie going in a way, is the banter and the humour.
Yep.
Can really reflect the intelligence of the group entirely.
Yeah, right. Well, people, once you're in those teamworks and you got that camaraderie going and you got the banter and things along those lines going, you can when someone's not feeling 100%, you can tell.
Yeah.
And of course in those team environments there is stronger relationships develop. Some of them are closer, some are a bit further apart. So, then people can find others that they are confident to go and have a chat with, and vice versa. So if you see your colleague, you don't seem right, you can, that simple question of, you okay? Right? Goes a long way. Yeah. And we need to continue asking that. We need to ask the question.
So so acknowledging you're under stress would be like the first thing, is to really assess your own situation, how much you're taking on board.
That's a self-care strategy to do that. But when you're working in a team environment and you see someone who might be struggling, because they might even know they're struggling.
Yeah.
Right? But they just seem a bit off today for some reason, right? And asking that question, are you all right? You okay? You all right? Right? Can sometimes prompt them to go,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
No, well, not really, but they haven't sort of stopped in that high pressure environment, workplace, to actually think about it, right? And breaking that thought, because we get into that thought process where it's like cyclical. It's like a snowball, and you're into it, and you're not really, you're not at your 100%. And someone asking the question could actually crack you out of it. And you can have a look at it and then actually make a decision one way or the other. Then you recognise you might not be 100%. Get what I mean? So that's a two-pronged approach. Yeah.
So if you know that you're under stress, actually initiating a more of a supportive environment from yourself could even go a long way in helping you and other colleagues, because you'll find out that you're not the only one going through it.
Correct.
And it kind of shares the responsibility in a way of what's going on. Someone might be like, "Oh, here, I'll do this for you."
That's correct.
Because you're under stress. So,
and there could be a simple strategy that alleviates that, right? It could be a really simple strategy. Now, and also sharing that issue or nuance or whatever it is with somebody else, you actually can normalise whether you need to work on yourself. Or do we have to get together as a team to work on this issue to minimise its effect on us as workers, right?
Yeah.
So it's about a communication mechanism across the group as well, which really is most effective when it's handled adequately and properly by a structured plan from management. So they can have a bit of a look at that, and I think we're going to talk about that a bit further on down the track about structured plans and creative environments, And
I think another thing to do to manage stress is write down what's causing you it specifically. Write down day by day everything that you do, just so you have it out of your head. That's just basic notes.
I'm a big yes, that's great.
And that's what I do under stress. Take a whole bunch of notes, because then when someone says, "Oh, you go up to someone, I'm feeling a bit stressed. Can you do this?" And they say no. That you have a documentation of all the things you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Right.
So it can kind of help you in terms of having a bit of documentation on getting time off or being a little bit more negotiating the boundaries of work, or you know what I mean?
I'm a big advocate of journaling, right? And I've always, I've always every year got a day to a page diary sitting on my desk, right? And use that daily. Everything goes in it. And at the end of each day, I do actually put a bit of a journal in there and just make a note. As issues come up too and present themselves through the day, I'll make a bit of a note. Keywords, date, time, who I spoke to, things along those lines. And a bit of a finale, or the next morning when I come in and have a look what's on the next day, I'll turn the page back and just write in a few notes of what happened yesterday and what occurred, right? And, okay, sometimes some people think, I don't want to do that, right? But the amount of times I've come in 3 months down the track and something's come up or someone's gone, what about this and blah, blah, and I've gone, hang on, I think I've written something about that. Flick back to that page and here it is, keywords, phone numbers, who I spoke to, what time it was, what the issue was, what the outcome was, and you can actually follow it through the diary. I'm just talking about scribbling a paragraph in your diary. And not only that, yes, it unloads your head. You're taking all these issues out of your mindset, so you're not carrying that around because you're comfortable that it's stored in the diary. It's like I call it the external memory. Right?
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Yeah, that's right. So go out and buy yourself a diary and just write absolutely everything. Scribble on it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Just do something with it.
Yeah, I think that's a very sound idea. And then you don't take that stuff away with you, actually.
Ready for the next question?
Yep, I am.
Found this on the website. How can I establish a healthy work-life balance to prevent burnout and maintain mental well-being?
Well, burnout is a real problem. That's at the basis of increased absenteeism. That's at the basis of poor health. Burnout can be really, really detrimental if people don't get over it.
Yeah.
And it can also underpin conditions of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah, I've never really
stress disorder.
So is like burnout just to break it down specifically, like a wave of procrastination in a way?
Not procrastination as such. It's
lack of motivation.
Well, there's a number of telltale signs whether you are going through the processes of burnout.
Yeah.
It's an accumulation of a pattern of stress that is relentless, that you're not identifying. You're absorbing that stress, and then you're carrying that around, and it gets to a critical mass.
So it's like being exhaustion.
Oh yeah, it certainly exhausts you. No end.
So what happens during a burnout, and what comes back to someone when they're in a burnout that gets over it? Is it the motivation? Is it just a bit of a rest for their mental state?
How to get over it?
No, just like what happens during a burnout, like when you're getting over it. Do they regain that mental stability, and then that's when the motivation comes back and the procrastination goes away, or you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there is a whole range of issues go along with burnout. Some of the factors that are recognised as early predictors of burnout: job demands that exceed human limits, role conflict leading to a perceived lack of control, right? Being under too much pressure, right? Your skills are incompatible to the task you have to do. Right? You're always continuously feeling that you're a failure.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And the demands that compete with one another. So if you've got a heavy competition, a very competitive workplace, that can exacerbate it. Insufficient reward and lack of recognition for your efforts.
Yeah, like celebrating milestones. Yep. That's a huge one.
Lack of support from your
in mental health too. That's a huge one. Celebrating small steps in milestones with mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's mindfulness. You need to.
Yeah, that would have a huge impact on your progress.
Absolutely. If no one likes to go to work. We don't just go to work for money. Of course, that's a big part of it. And yes, of course, that's the mechanism of which we survive in this society, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
But for human beings, there must be other rewards, right? And one of the big ones is recognition, right? Social acceptance, right? Reputation,
status,
status, right? There's all those aspects, and they play a big role. And you have to be recognised along those lines, because if you are in a perpetual situation of negative input from your associates at work, it doesn't matter what they're paying. You just can't survive it.
And I guess it's kind of set out and designed in a way for you to feel like, lack of a better word, a repeating sheep. Just like wake up, work, go home, sleep, wake up, work, go home, sleep. And if you don't get recognised for that, you just feel like you're on a, you're just going around in circles.
Yes.
No recognition. If you die today, they'll replace you tomorrow type of mindset.
And as we always hark on here, you need a purpose.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're not serving some sort of purpose, that can be really detrimental to your health, mental health, right? Some of the other issues here that a little support burnout is lack of support from your manager or team, right? Consistently associated with exhaustion. Work perceived as unfair or inequitable, right? Your effort versus reward is out of balance in your mind, right?
And that can be a really huge setback, because in some cases you're going to put a whole lot of effort in and get nothing back, or almost nothing back.
Right, so that's a thankless task.
Yes,
they call that.
It's
right?
like doing a whole years of study for an ATAR at high school.
Yes.
And then you've really put your head down, bum up, and you got not what you were expecting. So effort versus reward could be like a huge setback.
Correct, and that's coming from two places. They can only come from two places. One is the curriculum that you're doing in regards to a ATAR. If it's a workplace issue, the work you're doing, the environment you're in, or you have to have a look at yourself.
Yeah.
You look within, right? What's going on for you? Is there something you're not picking up, something you're not learning? You have to put in a bit more effort or a bit less effort. You're putting in too much effort, right? You might be in the wrong environment. You potentially are in the wrong environment. You might need to look at your environment to change that. Now, that's really hard in the education system, and you're looking at ATARs. You can't do that, really. If you're a high school kid doing year 12, you say, well, bugger this, I'm leaving and I'm going somewhere. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately, but there are other steps and means you can get around. You can go and talk to somebody, find a youth worker, talk to your parents if your parents are in a position to understand what's going on for you. You can go and talk to your brothers or sisters, or you can go and talk to a cousin or someone you hold in high esteem who has been through that for you. So there's ways and means to get around that, and I suggest you do that at the earliest opportunity.
I think to establish a healthy work-life balance, to answer that question directly, is you got to set clear boundaries. Straight up. Really have a look at what you're doing. Have a look at what pushes you over your edge.
Yep.
And really live on that edge.
Yep.
So you're not getting pushed over and you're not getting too far away from it, so you're bored.
Yep.
Really live on that edge and set a clear boundary. Define your work hours, Create physical boundaries. If you're working from home and you want to have a healthy work-life balance, designate a specific area for work and avoid working in other spaces that trigger your mind to do other things.
Their strategies you're talking about how to alleviate and avoid burnout.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's specifically to create a healthy work-life balance. You have a specific spot in the house. This is my workroom. This is where I work. And then this is my relaxation lounge room.
Correct.
I'm not going to work in my relaxation because I'm just going to get burned out. I want to relax, but I'm also under pressure.
Yep.
You're in the wrong environment.
Yep.
Limit your after hours work. Just these simple, clear boundaries that you can do.
Absolutely. And set your clock by it. You worked from 9 to 5 or
turn off your phone.
7 to 4 or
turn off your work phone.
Yep. Absolutely. Shut down the computer and walk away from it. If you can put it in another room and shut the door. And you don't go in there until 9 o'clock next morning. You just don't, if you want to grab biro or something, you would be realistic about it.
Yeah, and that's what we did throughout universities.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're very jealously guarded that time when we worked and that time when we didn't.
Yeah.
And that, I think, contributed greatly to reduced stress levels.
Yeah, definitely. And we had the shed that was our work environment.
Yep.
And then away from the shed was the house, which was our relaxation environment. And doing that, I pretty much had every night off and every weekend off from uni work. And it was the hardest, most busiest year, and I still took weekends off, which was not promised when we first entering that year.
Yep.
Because everyone was saying how hard it was. But we took these proper boundaries seriously.
Yes.
And we passed, and we were healthier. We performed very well.
We've spoken about this before, and yes, that is a strategy we adopted and worked very, very well, didn't it? There's a few strategies that work very, very well. It's like guarding your time and specifying a allotted time to focus on your work. And when that time is over, you shut down things and walk away, regardless of where you are at with it.
Yeah.
Right?
And actually setting clear boundaries. Self-care should be a boundary.
Yes.
100%. It should be.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A boundary you can't. Yes, a boundary that you don't cross.
Yep.
You must concentrate. You don't forfeit self-care for some sort of external goal you're trying to achieve, right?
And that's what we did, didn't we?
If that makes sense, does that right? So if you yeah, that's right. Because what happens is when you get into that's what is exactly what we did, Remy. What happens is when you've allotted that time to focus totally on the goal that you're trying to achieve, be that workplace, be that study, be that assignment, be that anything really, and you put that time aside and you sit there and you focus on that, when it comes time to shut the computer off and go away and get some rest and relaxation, you will find that you've adequately made some really good headway on achieving your goal. So you can shut down. You shut it down and walk away, right? Some workplaces are sort of seem like they're never ending. But I think you'll be on top of it enough to understand that when you shut the computer down at 5 o'clock and you go inside and do whatever you're going to do, you're quite comfortable to do that. You're not going to have it running around your head. And, of course, you're going to have some tea, you're going to sit down, relax with your family and do those sort of things, read the paper or whatever you're going to do, walk around the block or look at your dandelions in the garden, whatever. And because the next morning when you get out of bed at 9 o'clock, you're going to sit down in front of the computer and you're going to boot up, or you're going to go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and you're going to deal with work issues whilst you're there.
Yeah.
That goes a long way to avoiding burnout.
Yeah. Right? I'm going to swiftly say that this was a good one, swiftly move through another point that I took a couple of notes before this podcast, and I had a note here, and this was based on the personality trait disagreeableness. Learn to say no.
Yes, absolutely. That's a big one. That's a big one.
A huge one. Like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do this? When you're already stressed.
Yep.
If you're just an agreeable person, yes, you're going to burn yourself out.
Correct.
And you're not going to have a healthy work-life balance.
Correct.
And you're not going to maintain healthy mental well-being.
Correct.
Are you?
No.
You've got to be disagreeable in your workplace.
Yes,
and that
you
can
do.
benefit you, actually.
Yes.
A lot. You can't say no because then you're taking on other people's responsibility and they probably won't do it back to you.
That is correct. That's a very tricky route to take. But there is points there where potentially you do have to be disagreeable. Yes, and we do tend, particularly men, tend to be, have personalities that has a high propensity to be agreeable. But realistically, you're only really setting yourself up because if you're going to agree to do everything, you're only going to do all of those things half-heartedly.
Yeah.
So therefore, as you try and put milestones behind you or achieve goals, they're going to come up again, which only doubles your workload because you're not doing it properly. Please cry out if you need help. That's some great advice, mate.
Yeah, learn to say no. Yeah,
that is a really good idea. Plan your workouts, another one, which is really good. Delegate tasks. Again, that sort of comes into
like time
be disagreeable.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing something, hey, Jack, can you give me a hand with this, please? Right?
And you say, sorry, I can't. I really have to do this. And they say, oh, what are you doing anyway? Yep. Open up your diary and show them what you're doing every day.
Yep. And, again, yes. A simple example could be lifting something. I'd lift a fridge. Okay, I can put it on a trolley and muck around and you're right. But if someone's standing there doing nothing, can you give me a hand with this, please? So even just help steady it or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But to have that teamwork initiative going, teamwork camaraderie going, if you get what I mean. And you'll find that most people will oblige because you'll then do the same for your mate. If he's struggling with something and, right, you want a hand with that, right?
Yep.
And you'll just start to do it naturally. The other thing, and just before we finish up on this question, is letting go of perfectionism.
Yep.
Right?
That's a huge one.
Absolutely, because we can't be absolute perfectionists in everything we do. And for some people, This is a real problem. Although these people achieve very, very highly, but they also let themselves down extensively as well,
Yeah.
which impacts negatively on your self-esteem,
Yep.
ultimately at the end of the day. So have a think about it and let go perfectionism, because often, what you can come up with will certainly get you over the line
Yep.
and hang in there for the period of time you want it to, right? All right. So shall we ask another question?
Yeah, what's the next one?
All right. Burnout's a big one. They can
Yeah.
all these questions. We could speak for hours on each and every one of these questions, and they're big areas. Here we go. Number 3. What are the signs that my mental health may be suffering due to workplace demands, and how should I address them? That's a 2-part question, really. So let's look at what are the signs my mental health may be suffering due to workplace demands.
There's so many
There
signs,
is so
isn't there?
many
There's
signs,
1,000.
isn't there? Here, I've got a heap of them here.
Chronic
Hang on.
fatigue.
Here we go. I'll just read off this list quickly, okay?
Yeah.
Feelings. Tired, irritable, distracted, inadequate, and incompetent. Physical. Muscular aches, body pains, headache, increased or reduced appetite, weight change, nausea. This is when it's getting pretty bad, right? Feeling trapped, hopeless and depressed. Mental. Poor concentration, muddled thinking, and indecisiveness. Stress in the workplace can manifest as regularly arriving late, regular absenteeism, reduced goals, aspirations, commitment, increased cynicism and apathy. That's a telltale sign. Poor treatment of others, relationship difficulties and breakdowns, arguments and things like that, and disagreements, and heated emotions, and strayed and frayed tempers. Increase in smoking and alcohol consumption, biggie.
Would increased time spent isolated be a factor as well? Because you could be flat out with other people during the week, but you don't want to go out on the weekend with your friends.
Well, that might be could be a telltale sign.
Yeah.
Or it might be a self-care balancing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A bit of a sign
mechanism
of,
as well. Could be.
Yeah.
Go home and read a book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lots of people do that, definitely. Making careless mistakes is another one. Obstructive and uncooperative behaviour. You're just not going to do that,
Yeah.
right? And an interesting one here is overspending.
Oh, really?
So, that could also extend over into excessive gambling
Yeah.
and poker machine usage or whatever you gamble on.
Addictions,
Yes, just to take your mind off it, because you're doing anything to do that, but you're not actually implementing sound decision-making processes around your other behaviours because you're so preoccupied with what's been going on for you in your life and you're feeling so downhearted because you've been so hard done by, yeah?
Yeah.
So some of the...
How do you address those?
Well, there is a number of ways you can do that, right? And early intervention is always the best. It's always better to start recognising these changes in your behaviour early, and much better than like having a mental breakdown. You're in the doctor's going, I can't do this no more. You're shaking and you can't sleep and you're eating and drinking too much. It's much better to start looking at that early. Personally, if I have a conversation or have an experience or in a situation where I think about that a bit longer than I should, I start going into it a bit longer. Like a scenario will pop up. I don't know. Can you do this? And I'm doing 20 things at once. Can I? And you're weighing that up. Well, geez, no, I can't really, right? And I start to think about that. I walk away from the conversation, the face-to-face situation, and now it's in my mind, right? Have a think about what's going on in your mind. Have a think about your emotional response to that request, right? Have a think about that. And just take a moment and ask yourself why you are feeling that way. Don't look at the task, right? Don't look at the person, right? The person who's come along and said, hey, you're doing 20 things, are you? Good. Here's number 21 for you. Do that too, will you? Right? And if you come away, well, I don't, Jack Black over there's only got 12 things to do, and no, he's only got 6, and I've got 20, right?
Yeah.
See how that situation starting to play out in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
Well, step away from the person who's giving you the instruction. Step away from that. Step away from the task, the 21 tasks. Purely have a look at why you're feeling like that, and try to articulate why you're feeling like that, right?
Yeah.
And from there, once you start to understand yourself and your emotional responses to that situation, will give you a better rationale as to what's going on for you in that environment, in that workplace, under that stress.
I've only met a handful of people that can do that successfully. It's very hard to go through in a very highly emotional situation and then think later on, what did I do? You know what I mean?
Well, it's about what. Well, I look at my response.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like people say, oh, someone's bugging you or something. They say, oh, go away, and then they just don't think about it again. But then not many people go, hang on, why did I react that way?
That's probably a good point, mate. And I only look at it from my position, and I can do that quite easily.
Yeah.
So that might be hard to. Yes, all right, I take that on board. And for you guys out there too, that might be really difficult to do, and that might be a little bit unrealistic on my behalf.
Not unrealistic. It's very, very achievable and very, very successful when you can do it, and it's doable. It's not unrealistic, and it's probably one of the best strategies you can do. I was just saying that I've, just the other Tuesday, I had just a year 12er say that.
Oh, yes.
He was
whereabouts? Youth group?
Yeah, youth group. And
yeah.
And he was saying that he got really upset in this situation, and then he says, I don't really get upset at the person or upset about the situation. I usually just think to myself, why do I react that way? And I immediately thought, you are so far beyond your peers. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The fact that you can sit there in an intense situation or later on and think, why did I react that way? And really bring yourself out from that situation and have an observer's perspective on it is massive.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to do. So I applaud if people can do that, but it's one of the most effective things. It's not unrealistic at all. I think it's very, very realistic. It's practicing that.
Oh, it's practice, absolutely.
And yeah.
Because sometimes when you're really angry and in a crisis situation, you can't do that. You just can't, because you've got the crisis deal with. You just can't. Sometimes you might be dealing with anger, right? But see, as human beings, we respond to our environments through our 5 senses, which creates an emotional response within us, right? We feel the emotional response, but we don't question it. We act on it.
Yes.
Right? And our ability to manage that emotional response to the situations in our environment, we really need to work on, because it's a practice thing. You got to practice that. And sometimes you can be infuriated about things. But I find it most interesting where my situation is why I respond like that, because there could be something that I'm not recognising within me, right? And if I can lean into that and have a look at that, you become a better person.
Yes, you do.
And that's what Jordan Peterson and Carl Jung and the like are referring to, your dark side. These are the things you keep repressed. And if you continue to successfully repress them, why are you feeling that way and what's going on for you deep inside, they can manifest in other ways, sinister ways, and come out in behaviours of Machiavellian sadism, psychopathy, greed, all those negative, and they'll come out in your subconscious, and you'll subconsciously apply those personality traits in your community. So, this gets
very deep, yeah.
It does get deep. It can go down that road. But that's what I try and do anyway. Have a look at the emotions.
One more thing on addressing this before we move on is take early action, guys. Don't let it wait till it gets too bad.
As I said,
just quickly,
early intervention is the best and the quickest route, because it's no good dealing with a physical consequence to burnout or physical consequence.
Yeah, and something that could be avoided as well.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
All right. I'm going right on to the next question. Yeah, sorry, there's lots. As I said, I've
got
said
it
it
here.
before, and I'll say it again. We could talk about these topics all day. Go on, shoot.
How can I foster a supportive work environment that encourages open conversations about mental health among colleagues? That's a great question.
Well, it's suggested that workplaces actually develop a communication hub, communication mechanism, a place for people to sit down and work. Lunchrooms is typically an example, and when everyone gets the same time off to sit down and actually have a bit of a conversation with your workplace friends and associates. Staff meetings are good, but specifically have topics in your staff meeting around health and wellbeing.
I was thinking the first thing that came to mind was if you don't know how to create a supportive environment for mental health and you kind of struggle to put the words together, go and get educated on mental health in the workplace and try identify some language that you can put to feelings and characteristics and stuff so you can communicate the awareness more impactfully.
Absolutely. And each workplace, realistically, it is good, sound business decision-making processes to establish a mental health and wellbeing strategy.
Yep.
Now, that can be as simple as having an item on your staff meeting agenda. Simple as that. And when discussing that, management take the lead about opening that up for discussions, right? And it can be just to encourage people to talk to each other, right? You'll find that staff members will rise up from the crowd who hold that in their interest. Assign them that role.
Yeah.
Well, you can be and ask them to bring a health and wellbeing question once a month to the table.
Yeah.
And just a simple thing about something really simple like how would you approach a work colleague about how they're feeling, right? Go and develop a code word that you can say if you think that people aren't travelling real well, right? Like and make a bit of fun out of it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, making the fun out of it and actually making it a conversation, you're actually addressing health and wellbeing in the workplace
In a fun way.
in a fun way, you know.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to develop a positive work environment that supports everybody, encourages good mental health, right?
Yep.
You'll actually get a very good understanding of how your staffing are operating. This is from a management perspective, right? And you'll understand the balancing of job demands and job control.
Yep. And all those small things as well. Celebrate your progress, even if it's small steps.
Correct.
Share your positive outcomes.
See what supports are needed in the workplace.
Yep.
If there's management performance issues, you can identify them. There might be training needs.
Yeah.
It might be something simple, It might, and some of the issues that can be alleviated in the staffing team by management are really simple stuff, like running a competition every month for some movie tickets so an employee can take his wife to the movies.
Yeah.
Or a dinner voucher.
That's a great one.
And
yeah.
set a simple minds that can be drawn out. It doesn't have to be performance based if your team are really operating good. A lot of management use it for performance based stuff, but it also can be a raffle.
Yeah.
Just run a raffle.
Like if you buy tickets, it goes to the mental health fundraising. You know what I mean?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that buys a dinner out for the winner for that month, or who's asked their colleagues, are you all right the most for that month, or whatever the case. But that's a bit competitive. But I mean, you can really make it creative how to do that. And by the end of the 12 months, if you've got a small team of 8 people, well, all of them would have been more than likely gone out for tea on the company.
Yeah.
It's costing the company $70 a month. I'm sure it'll be 70, 80, 90, $100. Let's say $100 a month, right?
Yeah.
Which is $25 a week for investment in your team. You're kidding me. Which is deductible, right? So if you get what I mean, these simple strategies can go a long, long way, right? As we said, we don't go to work purely for money alone, Supportive management, supportive change management is a good policy,
So like kind of brainstorming policies that employees can go by, or frameworks.
Yep. Develop a mental health and wellbeing policy. Now, that can be really simple by just stating our policy on mental health and wellbeing is that it will be a topic of discussion on a regular basis, and will make up one of our agenda items right after general business.
Yep.
Right? That's as simple as the policy can be. And once you implement it along those lines, and it becomes the normal part of the culture of your workplace, right? Ultimately, that will have a really good effect to circumnavigate and reduce toxic cultures in the workplace.
And stigma.
All of that.
Yeah, all
Right.
that. Yep.
So there's a number of things that can be done, and there's lots and lots of stuff, and a lot of workplaces the health and wellbeing policy and strategy needs to be tailor made to that workplace to cater for the unique aspects of that workplace and what those workers' conditions are under, and that's quite achievable. We do that sort of stuff. We can look at that stuff quite easily and implement that sort of stuff. Now, listen, moving right along, shall we move on to the last question?
Yep, what is it? Hit me.
What role does the regular physical activity and proper nutrition play in maintaining mental health at work, and how can I integrate these into my daily routine? Now, I know this is a topic of yours. What do you reckon about this one, mate? What role does regular physical activity and proper nutrition play in maintaining mental health
Almost
at work?
like one of the most important roles, but both those things combined, you'd probably say it would make up almost 75% of healthy lifestyle.
We're going to be probably higher than that.
Yeah, it's nutrition and physical activity, and socialization being there at some point as well. But physical activity and nutrition, hands down, if you want the best performance, prioritize the most. Go for a walk, go to gym, have a healthy smoothie, buy organic food, visit a farmer's market and go buy something, because you can kind of twist in two things. You want to go get healthy food, go to a market. You're getting your socialisation and event and good food. So you're getting a lot out of one experience.
And you're supporting the cottage industry and giving some family an income.
But, the role of physical activity is just, it can go on for ages. Reduces stress and anxiety, improves mood and energy levels, boosts serotonin and dopamine, combats fatigue, stress relief, endorphin release. There's so much there.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Not to mention, over and above all that sort of scientific stuff and all that sort of stuff, the most important part about physical activity, right, is when you've done it, you feel great.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can tackle other tasks more confidently.
Absolutely.
You feel confident. You're like, oh, yeah, I kind of put it as if you engage in enough self-care, you can tackle any task.
Absolutely.
Because you're taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
It enhances cognitive function, like concentration, mental fatigue. You sleep better.
Clearer vision.
That's right.
Your cognitive ability is astounding. You can think better. Things don't seem to be or appear to be such a burden because you can clearly think through it.
Yeah.
Like the scenario, you got 20 things to do, someone comes up and says, here's number 21. Instead of exploding because you're a little bit fit, you've been sleeping properly and you're feeling a lot better and you can think clearly, right? You can find the assertiveness to go, excuse me, sorry, I can't do that. Right, and see how that changes the whole scenario. So it's imperative that we have good nutrition and have some sort of physical activity in our daily lives. Would be optimum.
I can't help but stress that it's a known fact that if people that go to gym regularly are better off in almost every way, like their mindset and everything. It's just known.
Studies are coming in. There's research being done in the scientific community, right, that uncategorically states that the best physical, the people who attend gyms are in the best physical position, not only physically, but psychologically, mentally, and neurologically.
Yeah.
Right?
And let's break it down psychologically, just quickly.
Yep.
What is gym doing? You're putting in a lot of effort for an outcome.
Yep.
Right? Putting it down on long-term goals and milestones.
Yes.
You're living a constant delayed gratification.
Yep.
And delayed gratification is what makes you achieve your biggest goals in life.
Correct.
degrees, CEO of companies,
Yes.
managers. You're waiting years and
Wealth.
being in wealth, and you're in a job position now. You're going 4 years in that same position and then eventually reaching a higher role. That's 4 years of you delaying your gratification.
Yep.
People in the gym delay gratification every morning. It's their mindset.
Yep.
So everything they do now is an outcome that will come later. They don't want it now. So psychologically speaking, you're setting your mind up to work for long-term goals. So you're not working for yourself today. You're working for yourself in 10 years.
Correct. Every time I walk into the gym, mate, I'm taking care of my 10-year-old self.
Exactly.
Right? That's my mindset.
Yeah.
I go in today to make sure that I'm better,
In 10 years.
which is a delayed gratification. Excellent point, mate. That's a fantastic point. And you're dead right. And not only that, but when you're before you go to the gym, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'd prefer to stay home, sit on the couch. Naturally, if you push through that barrier when you come out of the gym and you get over the initial exhaustion from your actually workout, you go, I'm so glad I did that. I feel fantastic. And then for the next 24 hours until you get back there, you're walking around tall, your back's straight, you're feeling fit, you're looking great, your skin colour's fine, you're just looking radiant, right? And that's the benefit of doing something hard.
Yeah,
like going to the gym.
and it's like, it's not motivation that'll get you through entirely. It's the discipline.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
doing something you. I think Mike Tyson may have put it like this. It's discipline is doing something you don't want to do but loving it when you do it.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yep.
He put it,
Yep.
and that was perfect.
That's correct.
That was really well put.
And the hardest bit is after the 3 months, and pushing through that. Oh, I really don't want to go today, right? But forget that and just grab your bag and strive on up. Set your situation up where your gym bag's ready and your shoes are ready and your shorts are ready, and that's it. All I've got to do is put my shoes on and walk out the car and go and do what I have to do, and just go into autopilot. Do the 1, 2, 3. On the count of 3, I'm picking my bag up and I'm going. I'm going to put my shoes on, count to 3, and I'm going, right? And just do that, because once you start into that process, you'll just keep going until you finish your set and out you come, right?
And how would to implement it into your daily routine personally before work. After work, you may be too exhausted, especially if you're doing some tradie stuff. People can do it. Don't get me wrong. People can go bricklay for 8 hours and go to the gym.
Yep,
that's
they
fine.
certainly can.
Yeah, me personally, morning person. I get up earlier because you feel better when you get up earlier. You work out, put you in that mindset for the day.
Yep.
And then you also go to bed earlier, and you do get potentially more sleep as well.
Yep.
Yeah, get up at 7.
You do. Your sleep's great.
Yeah, get up at 7. You're up early, get more of the day. You feel more energized.
Yep.
And you're approaching work with that mindset of work hard now, achieve later. That's how it works.
Yep. Well, it can be different people have different situations for themselves, and it's rather unique to their situation. But it doesn't necessarily have to be go to the gym every day. It can be walk around the block.
Yeah.
It could be skipping. It could be anything really. Walk around the block is the most convenient, and lots of European families usually go for a walk around the block after tea to help their meal settle down.
That's a really good idea.
I've seen that happen a lot. The whole family go for a walk around the block. Now, when you have littlies and you got school lunches and things along those lines, it might be really difficult to go to the gym or swim or things along those lines. But a little walk around the block, even if mum stays home to do something that mum needs to do, and dad takes the children for a walk around the block so they can get out and have some fresh air, take the dog, do that sort of stuff. That's physical exercise as well. You feel really good when it's done. So there's many different ways to approach it. Some people like to do it in the morning. Some people like to do it in the evening. Some people like to do it in the afternoon. Some people like to do it whenever they can.
Yeah. The best time is whenever suits you.
However it works for you. Just make sure that you get a bit of physical activity and continue to do it, because you'll feel great.
I'm going to quickly run over the nutrition.
Okay.
Because nutrition was in there as well. So the role of nutrition, just quickly, all the same stuff. Balance, blood sugar, has rich foods. It gives you all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. It stabilizes your mood, boosts cognitive function, especially like hydration, nutrients, as I said before. Energy levels goes up. And it reduces stress entirely. What you put into your body, just like running a car, is very important.
Yep.
And how to integrate this is plan your meals, research your meals. Don't be afraid. It's so incredible when you look up a recipe how hard it is to get it wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's really easy, and you got to be diligent with it. You can't do it for a week and then give up. And the convenience is the best thing, right? But it's not. It's good for now, but it's not good for long term. The convenience, going to Macca's every night, that type of stuff.
Oh, I think that'll come home to roost, mate. Somehow, something tells me that will.
So
it might work for you. That might be, really convenient for some people. But I think you'd have to break it. You'd have to break it up.
Yeah, I suggest a healthy breakfast, hydration, and a not too late of a dinner. 6:30, 7 dinner, whatever works for you usually. I don't like to have it too late because it's not healthy to sleep with a full belly. But yeah, creating that routine and listening to your body in how it reacts to foods and physical activities will get you the furthest. Don't do something if it's going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, listen to your body. That's a very good one, mate. That's a really, really good one. Listen to your body and what it's saying. And when you eat it, how do you feel for the next 40 minutes, hour afterwards?
Exactly.
That'll give you an indication whether your body's dealing with that handsomely or not. That's a whole nother.
And avoid late night snacks entirely. Like choose a cut-off date and then cut-off time, and don't eat. But that's pretty much everything on that I had in mind. But yeah, that was a really informative podcast episode.
That was a great discussion, mate. Don't you think?
Yes.
That was really, really good. Anyway, stay tuned on High Road. We got lots and lots more great discussions coming your way. And that was a really good one, mate.
Yeah.
You can find us on all social medias. Don't be afraid to look us up. Thank you to those people that wrote in with those questions. We'd like to see a lot more questions come in, and we're happy to answer them and go down that road. Today's topic was mental health in the workplace, because the workplace is where we spend lots and lots of time, and I think it's a good idea to put a bit of time and effort into how can we create a better workplace for us to spend time and have it a lot more enjoyable situation. All right, mate. Listen, thank you very much. And thank you to all you out there. You take care, mate.
Ta-da, everyone.
And I'll talk to you soon.
No problem. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.